Yo, yo, yo. All right. So we have a great show for you tonight that we're going to be talking about remote viewing and also can we contact aliens as well. Then I have a great point about remote viewing that we'll get into viewing later on into the show. And it's some stuff that I found about them doing remote viewing, talking, or contacting Jesus. So that's going to be something else we're going to be talking about too. Can you remote view Jesus or the consciousness of Jesus? So we'll talk about that later on in the show as well as those grays, well as some of the history of remote viewing, so that you can pretty much get into some of this yourself. And I'll discuss some of the stuff that I've been doing as I've been learning a little more about remote viewing as well, so that, hey, you know what? It's real. It is something real. So before we get into that, I'll give you kind of a summary a little bit that I've taken from some documents that I'll share with you later on into the show, where you can learn a little bit about remote viewing yourself. However, we can go back to where it all begun. How did it begin? Where did it begin? Who's been doing it? Why they've been doing it? And it just takes us into a whole, I would say, divine area when it comes down to remote viewing. So we'll talk a little bit about that right now. In the 1970s, that when it all kind of began, the CIA and the U.S. Army intelligence secretly launched a psychic spy program. Now, not out of curiosity, but they did this because they was afraid. They was really afraid of not only what they was going to find, but what was really there. They believed at the time that the Soviets were ahead in using psychic powers for espionage, and they did not want to fall back as well. Now, again, when you start thinking about psychic powers and you start thinking about the future, I was just actually watching a movie called Paycheck, where the guy, I think Ben Affleck plays into it, but anyway, he helped create this type of this type of machine that can see into the future. Serious Poem says, feel well, doing awesome. Yes, thank you, everybody. Oh, you're feeling well? Because I know I wasn't feeling well Friday. Oh my God. And Thursday and Wednesday night, actually coming into Thursday evening, really. But either way, thank you all. But they felt that remote viewing, as they learned this, and let me kind of bag up for a minute to kind of put a little part of this story together. When I was studying the remote viewing from the Monroe Institute, I was running across some information that David Icke was referring to the Monroe Institute. And what he was saying was that the remote viewing is where they really discovered at some point how to connect and communicate with the reptilian entities or consciousness, or however you want to call it. And so therefore, a lot of different programs have been doing their own secret operations, implementing remote viewing and psychic connections. Because I remember some story about them contacting some down warplanes that they couldn't find in the jungle during some of the war times back then. And they used remote viewing to be able to go and find these people or talk to these people and say, well, where did you crash? Now, they had already been unalive. They've already moved on, but their consciousness was still able to hold a conversation. That's something totally different that I'm like, whoa, we would have to look into pretty much from there. However, let's get back into this, and we will talk a little bit pretty much. Oh, she said, oh, no, I'm glad you're feeling better, Roderick. Thank you. All right. So anyway, shout out to all of you, and hope you all had a great past weekend as well. And for those of you who's watching us on Forbidden Knowledge and everything else as well. So here's the deal. This led to the formation of a classified units like Detachment G. They call it the Grill Flame, okay? A covert psychic warfare team tasked with using remote viewing to penetrate enemy secrets without ever setting off foot on the ground. They were like, we can do this. We're not going to set off no alarms. We don't even have to put foot on the ground. Now, I know you may be going remote viewing, and some of you may have some speculation toward remote viewing, but people, I think this is one of the most powerful things, and we all do it, and some of us put it in the context of astral projection when we're sleeping and everything else. So we can put all that together as we move forward down where we're going with this, or for yourself as well. Now, these psych spies is what they call, was trained to mentally project across space and time to gather intel. Before I even go any further, what do you all think? Put it in a chat or the comments if you're watching this after this live. Do you really believe or have an understanding of remote viewing? And if you could do it, would you do it and send messages? Now, a little sidebar. Let's take a little quick detour. When we think about all this technology that we have today, and we think about how so far advanced civilizations that we are now, you will begin to understand that we are actually dumber than we were back then, because we didn't need all these sophisticated devices to communicate across long distances. We just didn't. It was a little more different when they used the technology. But today, because they're using other things and other reasons to get us adapted to this technology and transhumanism and stuff, then it lends its more control factors for them to control us. Because if you think about it, they cannot control us in the conscious realm. They just can't do it. You know, it's out there, right? No one has control of that. And this is where I think we all should begin to learn and to begin to operate, to think and basically digest our intelligence and place it in that. But anyway, but here's the twist. When it came down to them creating these spies, some remote viewers kept drifting off target. Now, how many of us have experienced that? Because even I would admit, before I started the show, about an hour and a half ago, I went into one of my out-of-body remote sessions that I normally do and learning and getting better at. But obviously, I was a little tired because I dozed off or drifted off into a dream state of something else. But my intentions was to speaking with my two guardian angels and everything else that was around to get some guidance based on some information and things that I was studying. So it doesn't boggle me to hear that they was drifting off, or were they just moving, targeting elsewhere. But we'll go deeper into this and discuss a few things. Serious Poem says, I believe remote viewing has been used and still being used. It is probably implemented in daily rituals or thoughts and things with government people, everyday people probably, who all has advanced enough and to begin to look into it. So I do believe that it is the purpose of what is going on out here. However, they was talking about that some of them was drifting off and they were going toward UFOs and alien bases. That scared the top brass people in the military, not just because they thought it was nonsense, because what if it wasn't? And when these people at the time, and this is information out there, that these people at the time were, again, they was trying to do psychic information, getting intel from enemy locations and enemy things. But people start seeing, wait a minute, there's alien bases, there's different things. And the government, whoa, what are you talking about? And you can imagine, this is the 1970s. So you already know the Roswell incident happened in the 40s. So they already knew that extraterrestrial type of things flying around existed, and possibly there had to be bases, right? So that wasn't surprising. I think it probably connected two dots between two particular parts of the military. And one was like, hey, wait a minute, you all are not supposed to know this. What do you mean people are seeing these things? And so therefore, it probably lent them to say, wait a minute, this is probably a little creepy for them. Ingo Swann, one of the program's pioneers, helped shape the protocols of modern remote viewing. What this person did was turning raw psychic intuition into something replicable, testable, repeatable, as well as weaponizable. You hear me? Weaponizable. How on earth? Well, we can't say on earth, because if they're remote viewing, they're moving off earth. But where did the point of this, where they become to say that remote viewing is a weapon? What could it do? Could it that I don't know. Maybe some of you would know. Some of you can put it in context of knowing what we're talking about here when they say this. Maybe that's just what it is. Caro, I mean not Caro, but the Queen City Psychic Medium says remote viewing is just clairvoyance with a newer name. It was called further seeing in ancient times. We can do it because everything is recorded in the Akashic record. Okay. All right. So there you go. I know a spy weapon. All right. That's cool. I'm with you on that. That will probably be where they're going with this. All right. So having said that, we're talking about, and yet they were saying that one high-ranking government official protested during a UFO briefing saying that humans, listen to me, humans are not supposed to know this stuff until we die. What truth were they trying to block even from their own agents? Why would a top military brass, meaning upper echelon person that was in high control of things, want to tell these people that they felt that they did not want them doing this because there was things that you will see that you are not supposed to see until you die. You're not supposed to see certain things until you die. Now, I'm still kind of like wondering exactly where they would go with this statement. And maybe some of you can help me out with this or help the audience. And we all kind of a community here anyway, right? We are, not kind of. But what would he be talking about when he's saying that there is a perspective of this that they're saying that until we die, we're not supposed to see this stuff? Now, what difference would it make at this point? So maybe some of you can answer that when it comes down to what they're talking about. But let's give a few talking points that I will say to ask you and for us to think about a few things. First of all, why would a superpower fund psychic spies unless they were seeing results? We know this. We know that they kill programs all day long or something in the say, but the other part is, did the military discover something they couldn't explain or couldn't control? See, that's the point that I was thinking. And if remote viewing did not work, why fund it for 20 plus years? They've been doing this thing for a long time. We're not talking about people doing it. We're talking about millions or possibly billions of dollars that is unaccounted for have been allocated to go into an area to make discoveries on content of remote viewing. And then from that content, they change it into policy. Then that policy turns into lessons, and the lessons change into reality that is working because they're out there gathering all this information. And then all of a sudden they say, okay, now that we got this, let's just implement this stuff, right? And now that they have done this, it's been working. So that leads us already down the what I call the word on the street, not just conspiracies, but the word on the street is that it works because we've had enough people talk about it. And later on, we'll talk about how they remote view aliens, the gray aliens. We'll talk about, and later on in this same session here, remote viewing the Palladian system in the Galactic Federation. All of this we're going to connect tonight as we go further into this. Another question or discussion, I will say, and we got to think about this in the military reform. Were the top government insiders terrified of what remote viewers were actually seeing? Because you remember, they were trying to figure out, did Russia get ahead of us in spy work? But they start seeing other things, bases, alien work. And I think that sent them in a frenzy. Therefore, if the viewers kept stumbling onto alien activity in underground bases, did the Pentagon fear more than just psychic failure? Did they fear cosmic exposure? Now, that is something that sends us into a whole different mindset when we're thinking about remote viewing and the implications of it when it comes down to these aliens, extraterrestrials, the government, and all these things. Because remember, I've said this before in a past show when I was talking about reptilians and the Monroe Institute that I was just talking about, alluding to earlier, that I'm doing the remote viewing sessions, right? Well, David Icke mentioned that is through the Monroe Institute is where they discovered the reptilians. Now, the key to it is that they're operating in a different dimension, correct? And as we know, and we're in the third, they may be in the fourth and possibly fifth and beyond. And from my understanding, hell, there's 1,300s of dimensions way above what we know that is definitely way up there off the food chain that we can even think about. But I'm sure the fourth dimension can see the third dimension, right? And the fifth dimension can see the fourth, third, 2, 1 on down, right? Because we can see in 2D and we probably can see one dimension, right? So what exposure would they be worried about if they discovered this? And I think that the exposure would probably be that we do have the ability to see the unseen. And that will make whoever's in those dimensions a little wary and like we need to go and open up a can of whatever and stop this mess from happening. But what does it say about the official claim that humans are not supposed to know this stuff? This is what they was talking about, the high-ranking general, but people are clairvoyant, just like she was saying earlier. People are figuring this out. They're doing this on their own. They're making the connections by themselves without the fact of the government and the government exposure and all of these things, because it's happening to people in real time in their dreams or sleep or even wake states, right? So this is not something that they're doing, because the main part is there a spiritual quarantine around Earth hidden knowledge, and who placed it there and why? Because maybe the general was speaking from experience, or someone told him we wasn't supposed to know. In other words, they have had access to information that they're saying that they're not supposed to know. We're not supposed to know this thing. What do y'all think about that, right? Think about it. And coming up in a few seconds, we're going to talk about what is remote viewing for some of you who want to know a little more detailed information. I'm going to go into that next. But what I'm saying is, why would someone stamp that we're humans or was not supposed to know? We're not supposed to know. Now, I can get it if our all creator, or the person who have tampered with our DNA, or the persons and people, things, or whatever, who have reorchestrated our physical beings on Earth and have set limitations of access, because once we figure out too much things, we don't know. I mean, it's just like, secrets, right? People just don't want to know things. I think it's something that we could look into when it comes down to that. Kaneda says, I believe that it takes a lot of meditation and being more in touch with your higher self. That I would agree. That I will totally agree. Because, and let me give a reference point. It may not even matter to y'all, but I'll just say I agree, and here's why. The other day, I was given some medication for my knees. I was going into the doctor, looking at the knee and possibly whatever they want to do to them later on down the road. Well, he says, well, you got a lot of inflammation in this, and I'm going to give you this stuff that's going to handle your inflammation. And they did. And just the other day, I was getting ready to get prepared for our inside session, behind in our Patreon. That and by the way, Thursday, y'all, if y'all saw the show last week, she's going to be there in the private area, and we're going to do some all-out uncensored stuff. And she goes hard, and we're going to go with some conversations. So I took this medication, and the inflammation is supposed to be going down, but I was getting lightheadedness, dizzy, all kinds of stuff. And what happened, I went to the gym right before and worked out and accelerated the stuff, because I'm sweating and I made my blood move in and all this stuff. Well, I was on the treadmill. I wasn't doing the weights. So if that did that, and we already know that they're invading our chakras, we already know that food and all of the stuff that they're doing in real time, it would make sense that someone would orchestrate a plan and say, we need to do all these things to keep their consciousness and mind and energies down here so they never access, we're talking about us, the humans, their true potentials. And I'm saying I realized it in real time for taking that something was not right. And I shelved it. And days later, I'm cool. So we're just talking about it on a little level here. She says probably due to religious belief that, well, man, we can go into that later because, again, I'm going to talk about them remoting Jesus here later on in the show. As concluded to this part, were UFOs a forbidden target for remote viewers or the real reason the program existed? Because the whole thing about it is, what if the psychic spy program wasn't just about Russia, but about off-world surveillance? Are we the watchers or the watched? We know in biblical times they talk about the watchers, the watchtower, and all of this stuff. And this has been going on since the beginning of time. But what if other civilizations? Now, having said us having this conversation real quickly, as we move on to what is remote viewing, you tend to want to say to yourself, well, Roderick, what about firmament? What about flat Earth? Or what about this programming that we're in? What about this simulation? Or space is not real because birds is not real, right? Or the Earth is round when it is really flat. And if it's flat, it has an edge. And if it has an edge, there's nothing else out there. Oh, when a rocket hits the sky, it turns. Or we're not really able to go in space. Or maybe we are trapped as souls here because there's a soul net. And these aircraft that we're seeing are ours and not UFOs. Or they all are unidentified flying object. We're talking about alien-driven objects from outer space or from another dimension. Maybe they're coming from inner Earth in another dimension. It's just so many hypotheses out there that people are talking about. So it makes you wonder where the truth is, and are they distorting so much information that we really just can't pinpoint what we're talking about here? And Charles says we do live in a dome. Okay, there you go. Right. So, and as y'all know, Charles was here talking about his experience in Antarctica, right? And so, in seeing those crafts. And so, therefore, Charles, I would have to ask you, did the aliens that you saw, the ship, was it in a dome, or where did it lead to when it was packing all that stuff that we and you discussed? Where did it go? If it's in a dome, right? I don't know, right? So those are things that we could ask and talk about when it comes down to this. And I think that's one of the things. Emperor says, I worked at photographic memory and then read all I could and then understand. I was trying to learn this photographic stuff too. And that's supposed to be an ancient thing so that you can flip through these pages and remember. So let me give you a good summary on, before we go into what is remote viewing, how it became a scientific remote viewing, because this is where it all changed. You see, after the early days in the military intelligence, remote viewing evolved into something more advanced in structure. And scientific remote viewing, SRV is what they call it, was the turning point in the 1980s when Ingo Swann refined remote viewing into a system no longer dependent on just geographic coordinates. All right, so I've taken some remote viewing. You got to get your coordinates, and then you have to follow your intuitions. You can draw the different symbols. It's all based on symbols now. That's another thing we need to discuss when you're doing actually and drawing out, because you can draw out what you see as different between, astroplaning and all that stuff. SRV turned what was once seen as a psychic gift into a repeatable and trainable protocol. This is where things get a little different, is what I was talking about when we're talking about remote viewing, accessing the other realms, astral projecting, and all these things, because these people figure out that you can do 1 through 5, 6 steps and you can get there. Obviously, they start repeating it. Obviously, we got people out there that's teaching you how to go into a meditative state to begin a process of remote viewing. I'm learning that. There was a lot of you that I've reached out to, and I only got one response. And that one response didn't follow through, that I was going to give them the same training and we was going to teach how to send messages to one another. And it takes a lot of focus and commitment when you want to do this, because you got to go down. And I know life is hard, and oftentimes we all don't have the time. So I just started learning myself and getting the benefits of communications, again, with my guardians and different people. But I have wished to have took a few of us, supplied the training, we took and studied it, and we actually did it. But like I said, I take it very seriously, and therefore I'm not opening it up at this point. But hopefully in the future, if I'm building, some people that say, "Hey, let's do this thing," we can really do it, right? Because it exists, right? We know this. However, SRV turned, once I said, into a project psychic gift that was repeatable in enabling regular people to access the subconscious data with surprising accuracy. All right. Unlike military RV, remote viewing, SRV, which is scientific remote viewing. So these are two different things. Which was passive, SRV introduced two-way interaction. See, this is what I was talking about, right? Because the Monroe Institute teaches you for two-way. And if you remember the movie Elektra, and I brought this up on many occasions, and you got to go check it out because it's a real exciting movie. But there was a scene where the two forces, the good and bad, Elektra and them, was going against each other, where she got tired and she says, you know what, we're just going to do this final battle. She sat down and she went into her meditative state, and she closed her eyes, and the scene went kind of dark, but black and white, to let you know that they're in the conscious and out of the full color world, okay? And the guy he kind of just came into the frame, and he said, he looked over and like, what do you want? Like, you're in my head, what do you want? And then she says, we need to meet, and we need to finish this, finally. And he goes, where you want to meet? Now they're talking in the conscious space, because you can see he was just sitting there, and he felt her come into his consciousness. And they make this place, and they said, we're going to meet there. And then she gets up, come out of the meditative state, and get out walking. But the father, who was the head of the demonic stuff, grinned because he was sitting in his office and he overheard the conscious conversation, or saw it too. He was in the conscious space, and he was able to pick up their talking, and he knew what was going to happen. Anyway, that's when I was like, hell, that is something. Y'all give a shout out to Body Electric Supplement. So, all right, in other words, shouldn't we be learning this stuff, is what I'm trying to say to you all, because man, there's so much stuff happening today and out here in real time, that it is time for us to begin to process learning these things and knowing that it exists more than just paying bills every day, okay? All right. Unlike the military RV, which was passive, the scientific remote viewing introduced two-way interaction, including potential communication with non-human intelligence, such as extraterrestrials. Now, you should be able to believe this, because everybody who has had some type of contact experience with extraterrestrials, it comes out of the astro, right? It comes with, even in a dream, sleep state, or some other state. They're not just walking down the street saying, hey, what's up going on, Mr. Alien person, or contact. Everybody sees it or feels it in a different way. As the government programs went dark, the private institutions like Foresight Institute picked up the mantle, and scientific remote viewing, SRV, became a tool not just for espionage, but for contact exploration and disclosure. Now, it's interesting for that. So we're going to discuss 4 different points about this scientific side of things, because it just makes sense. And one of the questions is, when does intelligence gathering becomes interdimensional contact? That is something that I think a lot of us need to really take account to, for thought, food for thought, right? When does this happen? And they say that they're going to use this for intelligence gathering, government. So they take our money, the taxpayers' money, tell you that they're not going to tell you what they're doing with the money, but we're going to take your money and we're going to put it into these, these secret programs, special access programs, called SAPs or whatever they want to call them. I don't know. And we're using this for national security, but we want to get into the content. It makes me wonder something, though. You all remember the movie A Minority Report, where they were able to, these three precogs ladies or twins, triplets or whatever, they were able to predict the future. And so people were getting arrested for crimes that they haven't done yet, but just because the future said you were going to do it, not like you had free will and you could have made a different choice. So they will come and arrest you in your kitchen and charge you for a crime that you hadn't done yet, but the future said you were going to do it. And you now go to prison for the rest of your life. And I'm saying this, could they just be spying on us consciously? Could some of the most notoriously crimes or things have been solved or stopped or prevented because they already knew this person was going to do it? Now, we're talking about future and we're talking about immediate contact. All right. So that's something that we can think, because SRV crosses the line, the scientific side of it versus the conscious side of it. No longer just seeing, but potential communicating with alien minds. And if this is true, we're tapping into a cosmic internet or opening a psychic Pandora's box. That would be the main question that I would say or ask or wonder. Because at this point, are they breaking the rules? Am I breaking the rule? Are you breaking the rule? Because people oftentimes, and I've had a problem with this before, because there are people who will go or try to, without your permission, and go into your Coccyx records, or they'll try to tap into you. I've had it. I've seen it. That's why I wear all my protection stuff now, and to block all of this mess. And that's why I keep the ball of light around me, and every now and then post it so that I'm blocking, taking, and getting rid of all this negative connections and stuff that are trying to tap in. People are doing it. People do it. The people are doing it, and they do it. Okay, just letting you know, there is not something that's not happening. If anyone can learn scientific remote viewing, who controls the information? See, that's the point that I will say that you would have to do. You get what I'm saying, right? For those of you. And Jeremiah said, what's up? Yeah, let's support the channel. Go and hit the like button. Yes, our godmother, Diana, is telling you the truth. Hit the like button. All right, Diva said, I believe that we live, let me put this on the screen because I can't see it from here. I believe we live under a dome as described in Enoch. There is an opening from which no firmament and no bottom in the earth somewhere, though Antarctica. All right, so, all right, everybody's going with Charles with that right now. That's cool. Charles, you got a collective there. That's cool. So, if they're doing this, if anybody can learn, scientific remote viewing, who controls the information? How can you not be violated if they're seeing this? What is things that we just can't control that they know about you, anybody else, or anything? When you think that you have a private life, when you think that no one has my phone number, or when you think no one knows what I'm doing in the dark in my room because I'm in there by myself and no one sees what I'm doing to me, to my body, or whatever people do in the dark. And somebody actually can say, oh my God, look what, James is doing today in their room. You're from over here, right? And is there any laws broken? Is there any laws broken from them accessing, going into, looking into, and remote viewing you? Right? Is it any laws being broken? Can you complain about it? Can you even stop it? And if they're doing it in a scientific method, now this is a repeatable, documented, because I'm learning it now, thing that you could do. Boom, boom, boom. And that is a way off-center challenge. Because once scientific remote viewing left the military and went public, did the elites lose control of a tool that can pierce the veil? And the other question is, are civilians now accessing forbidden knowledge once sealed away in black projects. This is why I'm saying to all of you right now, it is time, and I suggest that you begin the process of clearing your mind and begin to access the information outside the realm. All right. There is an affirmation that I do at the beginning of all of my, methods once I begin to do this. And I repeated it. I am more than my physical body. I am more than physical matter. I can see beyond the physical world. In this exercise, I wish to know, explain, to control, to use all the control systems and information for me and those who follow me. This is a trained part 1 of 2 affirmation within the program that I'm learning. And you already know that you're more than a physical body. And like I said, I think it's something that we all need to get back to. I think we all need to get back to, because if they're listening to our devices, if they're controlling what we read, see, and hear, if they want us to only know what we think we're going to know through here, then it is very significant and important enough that you, me, all of us need to go into the other areas. She said, it's nasty, right? Naughty. Well, I mean, that would be, Monica, if I called you up and said, girl, whoa. You get what I'm saying? You'd be like, what? What you just got through? And you'd be like, what? I just got through making some tea. Now, that was a lie. You before the tea. You get what I'm saying? Is it too much access that somebody would know your stuff, right? And pretty much. And all I would say, those chocolate chip cookies you just fixed was nice. You get what I'm saying? That's the part that I will say. Now, is scientific remote viewing proof that the consciousness is true technology of the future? Because it already was of the past. And we know there's nothing new under the sun. We know there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun when it comes down to this. And hopefully this conversation doesn't blow past a lot of people, because it is important that we need to understand that this is probably, I would assume, as real as it gets. And that tops the other part of what we just don't know about this world. Because what if mind, not machines, is the next frontier? Do they know this, and why they're trying to embed AI, artificial intelligence, and interweave it with transhumanism, or make that become one, so to speak, man and machines? Because they need to get a grip, because we are entering the Aquarian age, right? Supposedly the truth and the water bearer and all of these are higher we're supposed to be able to start to tap into some other areas now and see some of this stuff. In order, the push is we need to keep people from doing that, because as a collective, the power is stronger. If we all sat here and said, hey, let's focus on something together, and we're able to do that. So where does that leave them? Where do that leave us? And where is the problem when it comes down to this? Just something to think about, right? Just something to think about. You get what I'm saying? However, once again, what if mind, not machine, is the next frontier? And does scientific remote viewing confirm, listen to me, confirm ancient teachings that the human mind is the gateway to the stars? What do y'all think about that? Am I just, you get what I'm saying? This is one of these conversations that I was looking deeper and more going into, and I'm starting to go deeper and more into, and I'm like, go deeper and more. It don't stop. Because they always say that you could have some trauma, or maybe you're having a bad day. Just think of something nice. That's on a basic primitive level. Just think of something else. Take your mind off of your problems. Why don't they go to other distance? Take your mind off your problems and go into the future and see that your behind is going to go to jail for what you did. So run. right? Or this is a good one, switch timelines. Dr. Strange says this knowledge was passed down to us by the gods. I'm sure it was. And I'm sure that they wiped the slate clean over time. Because why were the protocols needed to protect against imagination and interference? Because they got this right now. And I just said it. We're talking about the power of the mind. And the scientific remote viewing warns that imagination corrupts data. And does that mean that our minds have been programmed to block higher truths, or worse, to mislead us of purpose, or our purpose, our own purpose, right? This is why I'm talking about this tonight. This is why I think it's essential that you at least think about it. Think about what I'm saying. Think about the power of what I'm saying. And maybe it's not looking into the future, but looking into the other parallel universe that's operating simultaneously to where we're going now. And maybe you can jump side to side and don't come back to the other one. I don't know, or many others. You get what I'm saying? Maybe that's who we're talking to. And when you're talking to your divine self, or the most high self of you, right? Or God himself, or itself, right? So maybe that's where the conversation goes and come from, because you're accessing these key points or cosmic stuff through remote viewing or astral projecting. So with that being said, I'm going to go into a little quick overview of how it works for those of you who may be wondering, or maybe want to add it to your repertoire, your daily practice, or whatever. I'm not going to give you remote viewing sessions. You can go and find some people to teach you this, at this point. But remote viewing is described as it's not, I can't describe it, but I will say it's not a psychic gift, but a structured, trainable process is what they're saying. So this is why you should not feel discouraged or lack of because someone else said they can remote view and you can't, because it is a trainable thing that once you learn, any and all of us have access to do it. All of us, whether you made, F's in school to straight A students, just put your mind to it. We all can do it. It's a trainable thing. So that's interesting enough. Okay. The other part of this is that the process that allowed the unconscious, it's a process that allowed the unconscious mind to gather information from distant or unseen target and transfer that data into the conscious mind. So basically, you could get gifted enough that you can see what I'm reading, what I'm thinking, or what's going on, and we're in the same place. And then you bring it into the present and use it and understand it. And once again, we may think that we have to have a certain gift. And I'm here to tell you, it's not a gift. It's a process. It's a learnable process that each and every one of us, if we focus hard enough, learning, clear our mind, but because it's so difficult to clear our mind, it's so difficult with all the anxiety and all the stuff that they're doing every day to keep us reeled in, that it's important that you know that you can, you should and can and should be doing it, right? I say so. I think it's something that I would like to do at all costs. And doing is why I'm doing it, right? So let's continue. Now, in traditional military usage, as I'm telling you how remote view works, remote viewing was always passive. It allowed viewers to collect intel without interacting with the target. But scientific remote viewing, SRV evolution, developed further by figures like Ingo Swann and later the Farsight Institute. The process allowed two-way communications, even telepathic non-human intelligence, including aliens. Now, there is something in here that they said the unconscious minds receive impressions, is what happens, and relays them to the conscious mind before the intellectual interference can corrupt the signal. That was one of the things that the guy, when I was taking a training from the guy, Tony, this was a few years ago, and he was like, you got to trust your intuition when you remote view. You got to trust your intuition. And that's really difficult for a lot of people, even in a normal state of day, is to trust our gut. Because your intuition is tingling and telling you is not as clear as a conscious eyesight when you're remote viewing, but you got to trust it enough to know what it's saying to you is the truth. You got to know that. So that is something to really think about. Is lucid dreaming also trainable? I've done it accidentally, but wonder if I could get better at it. That I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if Jen, a lot of them is watching tonight, but if they were, they can probably answer that in chat. Anyone want to answer? Let me put it on the screen for Kaneda, so y'all answer the question here. Is lucid dreaming trainable as well, or is it intersect? Is it almost similar to be the same stuff? We just have different names. I don't know. As I continue, that like rationalization of imagination taking over, this is crucial because the conscious mind want to explain and interpret, and often too soon, which can distort the raw data. So we already know the power of the mind, projecting, controlling, and putting this stuff. But the key to scientific remote viewing is the use of what they call sketching, decoding impressions, and delayed analysis. This is what I was talking about before when I said they was teaching us symbolism. This is why my brand, the Symbolizer, exists, the trademark, or me, AKA, because everything is based on symbols in the first place. Remote viewing is based on symbols right there, and they're talking about it. You know, because once again, it's essential that people understand that, because when you start sketching, decoding impressions, and delayed analysis, it prioritizes sensation over logic. And what the viewer feels, hears, sees in their mind and eye without trying to figure it out in real time. And only after the session can the data be processed and interpreted. This is why I say you got to trust your intuition when you're talking about this remote viewing stuff. You have to do it. It's very important that you want to do this. The process emphasizes that intuition is not a fantasy, that it is a legitimate sensory channel, and SRV provides the protocol to harness it with precision. And much like how a mother might just know her child is in trouble, the remote viewing process elevates that intuitive knowing to a reliable skill for perceiving beyond space and time. And, you know, it's kind of interesting because some of you have been in relationships. To answer the question for you, Kaneda, Larry Dutton says lucid dreaming is trainable. Okay. We got S. Harris in the house. What's going on, my brother? So are you connecting with your intuition, which is remote viewing, when some of you are picking up something about your children? All right. And having said that, let me give you a quick story. In 1990, long time ago, I was at a car wash and someone attempted to rob me, and I was shot, okay, with a weapon, a gun, 9mm, point blank range. And it was possibly, of course, it wasn't lights out, but it could have been supposed to be whatever. And they were taking me to the hospital while they were slapping me to stay awake because I was getting sleepy and really probably was leaving. And At the same time, instantaneously, when I was shot, my daughter, who were at the time, I think she was just going on 1 year old or whatever, she ended up, they start rushing her to the hospital. She just uncontrollably just start crying, screaming. Mom didn't know what was going on. Grandmother didn't know what was going on. They couldn't stop it. They didn't know what was happening. And they start rushing her to the hospital, the same one where I was going. And this is happening simultaneously while I'm in the back of an ambulance fighting for my life. She wakes up uncontrollably at the same time, feeling whatever her father was going through. And just like we have the intuition to feel your children, it's an interesting thing, right? So when we start thinking about intuition and we start thinking about remote viewing, how many of you have ever felt that you just knew? Now, I'm not saying for some of you who uses this power in a relationship and you just think and know your man is a woman is cheating, because you could just feel it in your bones that they're cheating. I ain't say that, and I'm not saying to believe it all. However, you could be correct. You never know. All right, so what I'm saying is that they also saying this, listen to me, that the remote viewing process elevates to intuition of knowing. However, they warn you. If the conscious mind start interfering too early, listen to this warning, then the sessions loses accuracy. And that's why untrained psychics and spontaneous visions, or, the ones that are doing this, or I'm butchering that word, or less trustworthy than the lack of discipline of protocol. All right, so you already know the rules. Take the grammar box, which is over to the left, in the letter box over here, the grammar. If I mispronounce any words, you got what I was trying to say. You got unlimited resources to get all and correct the grammar for yourself, and don't charge me. But your mind should be able to process what he's trying. How many people knew when I'm making mistakes on pronouncing stuff, you know what I'm trying to say? What if you know what I'm trying to say? I really don't need to say it properly, but I do my best. However, this is the part that I just said, because how many people says, Monica said, I said bone. But how many people have been in relationships where the person accused you of something that they felt intuition or saw it in their mind in a dream or whatever, think they saw it and knew who it was, but didn't want to give you the correct address of the person's social security number, blah, 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 blah. But they said if these bureaus are warned, if the conscious mind starts interfering too early, meaning that dream, that thing that this person is talking about that they're having, doing and seeing, could be distorted to where they believe what they think they're believing when it could have been something else. Right? Right? So now you should be able to respond to the person and say, hey, go practice, because what your ass is seeing is not working. I don't know. But that's something enough for us to think about. Appreciate it, my man Harris. But you get what I'm saying? That's something for us to think about. Can we trust what we're seeing, the feelings, the intuition, the things that we're having, if we don't train ourselves? That's where I'm going with this, is why don't we do that? Why don't we begin the process as a community, truth seekers, to start training ourselves to not only just astral project, but to remote view? We need to train ourselves. Wouldn't that be such a powerful freaking thing to do? Right? Is to train ourselves. What do y'all think about that? I think it's really interesting to know that we should be able and we should do such a thing and begin to train ourselves. Now, I'm not saying just so that you can tap in on some other folks, but you can head of bettering yourself, your life, and begin to understand that. So I'm saying, I'm giving you a commitment. I'm I'm learning this stuff. I believe, or under the assumption, whichever is whatever. And we all know assumption is the mother of all F-ups. You don't want to assume nothing. That there's bigger plans, that they got bigger things happening out here. There are bigger things, and we need to see it. We need to see it. And Jordan Maxwell talks about it. And ever since I've seen this particular clip, let me show it to you real quick.
Harmony, I think we're being set up for something very serious and very big by some very powerful secret societies that very well could have extraterrestrial or otherworld intelligence guiding it. All over the world, we have accepted the authority.
You get what I'm saying? He's saying that these people are accessing if they're accessing extraterrestrial beings within other dimensions, other areas, and guiding them. Shouldn't we know what the hell that they're going on? And then could we spy on what is happening and not be caught off guard because we can see it? And I'm not talking about going down the street and getting the local shaman or the weed head, right? I'm talking about you, me, all of us understanding the power and do it is what I'm talking about, right? And as Harris says, learn how to be one with nature's intuition to see multiple applications the viewing experience can represent. You want to do this. Dina says 100%. Strange says, Roderick, you are the being Dr. X tonight. But y'all understand what I'm talking about, right? Because it's important that we do. Now, let me just take us into some Q&A part of this. So something to kind of get you to think about. And the question is, can the unconscious mind access truths that are hidden from our five senses? Somebody answer that for me. Can our unconscious mind, okay, access the truths that are hidden from our five senses? The sight, smell, smells, whatever. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. But can we do that? And if we can, why wouldn't we begin to make it a priority? Now, I'm not saying it's going to tell us when the next lotto number. I'm not saying that, but it damn sure is going to tell you your ass better not go left and avoid some situations. Right? We've seen it. Somebody said I felt like I was getting ready, something bad was going to happen, and I didn't go. You get what I'm saying? All right. Maya said, yeah, yes. We're talking about caustic records now. Okay. All day. Yes, is what we're saying. And I'm just saying. So if we talk about scientific remote viewing, allows information to flow from unconscious without using the eyes or ears, is the proof that our intuition taps into something more real than the visible world. What does that mean for everyone or everything we think we know? Now, does that changes the game? Because again, and let's keep this of some importance of thought here, because like I said, there's people who will tell you, and there's nothing I will think, and I was in a relationship once with an individual that sometimes she felt things and she was really like it was happening. Now, I'm going to be truth and honest that 99.6, except when she felt that I was hungry, and it was true. I know you're hungry. And I'm like, whew, I'm glad your intuition's working. You have fed me all day. You get what I'm saying? Oh, I know you want some of this, for you rated X people, PG, right? And I'm like, oh, yeah, you must be reading my mind. But there was some other stuff I was like, you are just off the freaking mark. You're so far off that it doesn't even make sense. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, which part of this is one of these things, right? We have to look at all of that and say, okay, that's fine. I'm saying to us, though, and I'm using this as a warning, something is telling me it is for me, I'm telling you for me. I'm going to use me for an example, just me. Man, you tap in, dude. You need to move when they move, right? You need to move when they move. Because if you see what's going on now, You see what's happening in media, television. They're all after this. And this is why I say your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. I don't care what you think you see these days. If they're controlling what we see, it is a possibility that there's not accuracy in most things that we're watching. It's a possible. I'm just saying it's possible. And so if you run the gamut, you got to see it to believe it. Man, we may need to change it and we create a whole new term. We got to feel it to believe it, right? Maybe that's a whole new thing. Maybe that's a whole new thing. We got to feel it to believe it. Instead of seeing it to believe it, you got to feel it. It's like, man, I don't care, but I don't know. Y'all know my humor. You don't want to talk about I saw your man, kissing another woman, or you seen him kissing, and you go, baby, that wasn't me. Y'all remember the song Shaggy? It wasn't me. Right? I don't know. But the part of this is what I'm saying is that you got to be trained. Untrained psychics or spontaneous visions, which is what I was trying to say earlier. I just slowed it down, or less trustworthy, and they lack discipline or protocol. We have to do it. We have to do it. Because the whole point is scientific remote viewing allows information to flow from unconscious without using the eyes or ears. Is the proof that our intuition taps into something more real than the visible world. And what does that mean? And the other question is, why would the military and intelligence agencies take psychic phenomena so seriously unless it works? They've spent billions of dollars. So for those of non-believers out there, Kill All Zombie says that's a fact. For all those who are non-believers, do the math. They're spending billions of dollars, creating better steps and methods of their stuff. They're creating billions of dollars doing it. I mean, they're using billions of dollars to create better methods. And they're not just wasting their time. No, but there are some people like, well, that's just some crazy stuff. But there are some people saying, this is it. This is what's going on. And it's something that, I don't know. If the government used these tools to spy on enemies, it is possible they also use them to hide or interact with extraterrestrial intelligence. And what else could they be using it for? This is what I was talking about. This is exactly what I was talking about. If they're saying that they can use it to go spy, they're saying that they can use it to talk to extraterrestrials. Do you not think that they can use it to see what Monica did yesterday in her home that nobody could be able to see, right? Could they have done that? Could they see what S. Harris is doing while he out on the road in his truck? You get what I'm saying, right? Y'all get exactly what I'm talking about. This is nothing to play with, people, because now it is serious enough to know that we're having. All right, so my guy Daryl says, he sent something. He says, ITAC, which is another image intelligence production division, is responsible for producing imagery intelligence for foreign ground forces equipped and weapons system for U.S. Army and intelligence community, supporting this mission today. People, we on the wrong side of things. We're on the wrong side of things. So it makes you wonder, and appreciate it, Daryl, for way we see things one way, and then all of a sudden, and Joy Maxwell said it too, y'all. Y'all remember, and I talked about this on a more religious fed. He said we're praying in the wrong direction in most cases. We're seeing this world the wrong way. Man, if everybody could see what is happening in the other realm, would our lives be totally different? Would you be with someone you're not going to be with? Maybe you with someone else. You get what I'm saying? Maybe you'll be with a different person, or And maybe not. Maybe you just do it. There we go. All right. So I'm gonna figure out a way I can put this on the screen here, but here's some information about remote viewing and participant. It's a secret classified document. All right. So appreciate it. So yeah, in a minute, I'll try to see how I can put this on the screen. What I'm saying is, do you want the power? Or what do we call power? Do you just want what your rights are? Who you are? Who you are, do you want to become the better you or find the old original you? You get what I'm saying, right? We have to. All right. And at this point, is it an imagination tool, a tool? Or, well, let me rephrase that. Is our imagination a tool or a trap when we're searching for the truth? Once again, I just explained that in a real world example of someone thinking too much on something that I was saying I didn't do or did, right? But is our imagination a tool? I mean, we already know the motivation people says to achieve it is to believe it, and to believe it is to see it in the and manifest is the word we conscious people would like to use. We like to use we're trained suddenly or subtly by these, small nuggets of life that people are using. You got to see it to believe it. You got to dream it. Imagine that you're already 150 pounds. Well, hell, I was. In fact, I was born 7 pounds, 6 ounces or whatever when I came into this world. So I've done it and been there. And I once, before I became this size, was 150 pounds. So do I need to imagine it? Or did I live it and now moved on to something else? Who knows? But out of realism, I'm saying, I know, I got jokes. But what I'm saying is, they tell you to imagine it. Imagine a new car. Imagine. Now, I'm not saying that imagine it and bring it into fruition is the way you manifest it, because but is it all? Or are we already seeing, when we imagine, or we already seeing what we already would have and do and have? We just accessed it and then said, okay, let's play this part. When we imagine ourselves being wealthy, are we already wealthy? And then we just didn't push the right button to transcend into that direction because of free will. And I don't know. Maybe I'm saying some dumbass questions, but the whole point I'm saying is it's in our minds. And if our mind can take us other places, I think it's something that we need to do. I think we need to put together a serious group of, when I say serious, people who will commit to it, understand it, and really do the 10,000 hour effect. Somebody learn this, because if you learn collectively, you're going to grow faster than individually. You know that. This is why they do think tanks. What if we did our own think tank and begin? I'm not saying, tap into this person who says I'm psychic, which we know, because my sister Courtney is psychic. So her intuition is very heightened. But I need to ask her, sis, are you remote viewing, or is it some of the same? He says that Bob Proctor says, Diane says, if you see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. All right. You can do that. The main thing is what we do with the skills once you develop them, and all things are possible, but not all things are profitable for your spiritual evolution. You better believe that, right? I'm with you. All the universe is light, love. The reasons all exist, dark light, is because of the light of unconditional love. All right. Y'all saying it. And yes, hit the like button if you haven't had an opportunity to do so. My other question is, when I said, is imagination a tool or a trap? The conscious mind wants to make sense of data, but scientific remote viewing says that exactly what destroys the truth. So your conscious mind can destroy what are I don't know where I want to phrase this. If they're saying our conscious mind is what distorts the information, it distorts our whole psychic stuff or remote viewing because it wants data. Maybe the data is things that it can comprehend and understand. Remember, I can see it to believe it. But the unconscious mind says, no, everything is possible here. And they're fighting with each other. It's a war between, and I've said it before when I started Truth versus Authority, that it was about authority, people, whatever. Now I know it's the authority is the mind. They're after our mind. Your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. This is why on many occasions, and I overly promote it, but I do, you got to go look at the book of Sacred Secrets and get into the conscious thoughts. You got to. You got to go there. You have to go. There's a link in the description. But I try to tell you, it's a downloadable thing. So make sure you know that. It's here. They're after our minds. They're after our minds. And why not if it's the most powerful tool? If our mind is so powerful that it can leave this dimension and go into another dimension, see what's happening, communicate, send messages back and forth. Almost like the internet. It's like the internet is like a process of our mind, right? That we can go up into the World Wide Web, access stuff in China right now, and bring the data back down into my computer. My computer goes online, goes up into the internet, goes over to China, comes back to a website and come back and interpreting, tells me I need to buy this stuff. Could that be the methodology? The other part of this is, could it be that the mind is programmed to block us from perceiving reality as it truly is? I've been saying it, and I've been saying it from the beginning. I've been saying it when I talk about this reptilian stuff that y'all think, some, not y'all, but some people think it's ludicrous or outlandish, ridiculous, Roderick. Right here, could it be that the mind is programmed to block us from perceiving reality as it truly is? If I don't say nothing else, I can stop right there. I could start right there, and that could be a whole show within 30 seconds. That's, the whole show. Could it be that the mind is programmed to block us from perceiving reality as it truly is on all facets of life? All of it. All of it. Now, I'm saying this to say, if being overweight is a true problem, is my mind don't see it when I look in the mirror? Do I see skinny when I look in the mirror? Right? Or do we perceive just because a person is overweight that is bad versus good or whatever? What are we being told? What is going on? Or does it even matter? Or, some people say it's all about what's on the inside, But what I'm saying is the truth of the matter that I can concur is that the mind is being programmed to block us from perceiving reality as it truly is. And this is why we have so many different theories and assumptions of different stuff. The last part of the question of this particular part is, if telepathic contact with aliens is possible, who are we really listening to? See, that is the point that I also make all the time. When people say that my spirit told me this, especially when I keep alluding to relationships because that's just a hot topic when it comes down to this stuff. Because who are you listening to that told you what you thought you knew? Unless we go into the conscious realm and see it and see who was talking to us. Maybe that's why they said biblically in the Bible that the serpent lied or, gave different whatever. Y'all get what I'm saying? The serpent lied or whatever the deal was. Who are we listening to? Brandy's in the house. What's going on? Well, I know several Brandies, but I don't know if it's the Brandy I know or the Brandy I don't know. But since you're in the audience, Brandy, what's going on? All right. So S. Harris said, as part of experiencing the ego mind is programmed to be your challenger. I get it. I totally get it. Right. And this is why I'm pushing the narrative of the mind of what we need to do. Okay. It's important that we push the mind to know what we need to do. All right. So SRV, scientific remote viewing has reported made contact with entities. All right. Brandy in Florida. Nice to meet you. Well, I knew him. The Brandy I knew was in Florida. Well, I don't know. Well, okay. So there's more than one Brandy in Florida, but nice to meet you. All right. So listen to what I'm saying. And he says, once you transcend the ego mind, it then reveals itself to your subordinate. Okay. We can go with that. But listen to what I'm saying. SRV has reportedly made contact with aliens. And if that is true, what kind of entities are communicating back? Are they benevolent guides or masters of manipulation? And can we always tell the difference? See, this is when you hear people be like, "Oh man, the whatever's trying to protect Earth." Because we're going to talk about the Guardians in a minute. We're going to talk about the Galactic Federation because remote viewings will supposedly be able to communicate there. So we're going to talk about that coming up here shortly. We're going to talk about the Palladian star system as well. And we're going to talk about when they say remote viewing Jesus. Yeah. Who are we listening to? Who are we listening to? All right. So I was reading in a book that we all are supposedly given 2 guardian angels. And I was reading because they are so in tune to do and give and be there for you. And if you go off the beaten path and go a little dark, your guardian angels goes dark and provide more guardian angels darkness for you because that's what they're for. All right. And I haven't concluded the chapters of the book that I'm reading with that in, but that's where they're going with this. Who are we listening to is what I'm talking about. But, however, and therefore, and so, if we get good and get better at understanding and train ourselves how to do it, we will know exactly who we're listening to. That's the problem. That's the problem I think the religious people got, the Vatican, all these people. They don't want you to go and listen to who you're supposed to listen to in your unconscious mind. And as long as they can distort that and you think you're hearing and send misleading, misrepresentations, manipulation type spirit moves to us, then they can guide us in directions and things that we don't really know, but we think is intuition, or we think that God told me to do this. Right? And I think we all can contest when they say God said, or a man walks up to a woman and said, God said, you my wife. Who told you that? Right? Not, and you hear a lot of women say, not God. But what if it was? Or what if it wasn't? What if it was that bad entity just wanted him to get into some hellacious trouble by dating that particular person or her or him, right? But we said that I felt that he was the one because God said that was mine. God said that new car was yours too, but about 6 months later, you then get mad because you got a bunch of bills. Y'all with me, right? Am I going off too left with this? You know what I'm saying? I know I took a detour, but just let me know. Put me back on track. I'm just telling you that the mind is powerful. And if they're afraid of it, it's why they're blocking it, and it's why they're after our minds. You get what I'm saying? And we got to protect it. That's why I use my protection symbols and everything else. You got to protect it. Sean said, I experienced with a lady. I had experience. Okay, you get what I'm saying? Somebody walk up to you right now, and I've had it before. I had a preacher, too, said, God told me to call you to ministry because you need to preach at my church. The hell? No. No, he did not. Because if the same God could talk to you, he damn sure could talk to me, right? Okay. I'm just saying people are using this stuff a little too deeply. It's all I'm just trying to say. All right. So let's talk about the limitations in remote viewing aliens, because I know a lot of people are thinking about that, right? Because there's something that we got to think about, and this is something that you need to know. This is something that you need to know. She said it. Ariane said it. She said, when they start talking about God, you need to say which one, right? Which one? You got to go deep with this stuff, man. You got to go deep with it. You have to. While remote viewing offers access to hidden information and knowledge, there are real limitations, especially when it comes to viewing these extraterrestrials. So, reason I'm going to say this, because you get a lot of people say they're communicating with aliens, but let's go into this. A lot of the viewers have discovered that certain alien species, particularly the grays, can block or distort the signal, and sometimes instead of seeing the real targets, viewers receive substitute visions, false images, and symbolic decoy. Right there. Right there. Do I need to read it again? Let me read this again. And you can do this research and find it too. What I'm saying is that they're saying that most of these viewers have discovered that certain alien species, particularly the grays, can block or distort the signal. And sometimes instead of seeing the real target, viewers receive substitute visions, false impressions, and everything else. Ghetto Boy said it. My mind plays tricks on me. My mind plays tricks on me. My mind plays tricks on me. That was a song. Is that not possible? Is that not happening? Okay, we try to say somebody else using mind games today, but when we're talking about from this other realm and tapping into you and distorting things, could somebody, y'all remember the movie Shrek, right? Or was I correct where the person he saw was beautiful, but yet she was a green thing, all right? Is that the right movie? Let me know if it is. But could you imagine that you're with someone who is projecting something to you and they got the skills to be doing it, and you're with this dude because he's built like a Greek god. And that's all you ever wanted anyway. But when you wake up out of that dream, he becomes a monster. Now, in reality, he's a monster because he was drinking, he hit you, he whatever, and he distorted your perception. But we're talking about visual stuff. All right. Diana says, the godmother says the right movie. Okay. So you get what I'm saying? That is something to think about. That is something to really think about. All right. Now, here's what I want you to learn. These blocks that these aliens was doing was not random. Some of these ETs have a defensive psychic capabilities that they can create a mental firewall that interferes with human perception. Even when multiple viewers attempt the same targets, the data often lacks overlap as an indicator that the extraterrestrial force is scrambling the signal. This is the whole point right there. But could we grow strong enough to block everything too? Because remember, I started studying the reptilian stuff. And one of the books that I was reading, the Reptilian Bible Part 2 or whatever, it was saying that if you keep your vibration high, they can't find you. Because at one point I was studying all this stuff, and I did have an inclination that maybe I can go too far and be a threat or lack of. right? And then I start reading and learning more. It's like, no, keep your energy up. They can't find you anyway because they can't see you because you're not at the lower vibrational state to be found. If that's how they operate, but that don't mean they're minions that are the human minions that can't. But it gets you to think though to what I'm talking about when it comes down to how powerful our mind is, especially for remote viewing. And if they could block it, why can't we, as a being, get to a point where we block people from tapping into reading our Akashic records, our minds, or even seeing us? Because the extraterrestrials do it. So they're coming in and out of consciousness. Yeah. Y'all get what I'm saying, right? Dr. Strange said, we got to deal with this Roderick guy. You get what I'm saying? You know. So even when, well, let me put it this way. In most rare cases, trained viewers have broken through and only to find themselves mentally seen by the alien themselves. And the message, not only can we see them, they can see us back. And I'm saying this because I've had many people have said this. I've had people call our hotlines before, said this. And I think you can probably experience this yourself. When you tap into that other realm, there are a lot of people say they're tapped into those remote viewing into the other realms, and the aliens be like shocked. We're like, damn, they can see us. And they'll be like, oh shit. I mean, the aliens, right? The aliens are like looking around each other like they can see us. And I've heard a reptilian saying, get out of here. You do not belong in here. Get out now. It's like you stepped in the wrong rec room, bro. You get what I'm saying? So you hear this all the time. You hear it all the time that they're saying that this is possible. That this is truly possible. That you can be seen and unseen at the same time, and they can block it or enough of it. So that's not so much of the scary thought, but it is something to think about, because the question would be, why would certain alien species scramble or fake the signal, and what are they hiding? Would it mean the Anunnaki, if we want to go back, the Nephilims, or well, now they're here, the giants on Earth. What are they hiding? What exactly are these things hiding? If ETs are given substitute visions, is it to protect their secrecy or to manipulate our perception of them? And are we being fed false realities right now? That's what the movie The Matrix said, right? That Sophia wrote, right? We're saying that maybe possibly that we're living in this matrix. There's some false reality now that we're living in. It's just a false reality when it comes down to remote viewing. So I'm saying, do you want to communicate with aliens? Do you want to see to the other side? Do you want to train your mind to interpret, to see things out of this world? Because like I told you, my information begins. I'm more than my physical body. I can see more than I am more than physical matter. I can see beyond this physical world. Blah blah blah. This is the affirmation I do every night when I go into my meditative state, and then I go into focus 10, and then I move in focus 10. I can kind of see things. Focus 12, I can move things around, and in focus 15, I'm out of body. You get what I'm saying? Can we not begin to understand those things? Daryl says, if this is a matrix, we are in a construct running this program, and we can break the pattern and find abilities outside the construct to run our own micro programs inside the programs within limits. Yeah. There is a time that I put up a video, y'all might have seen it, and I said that I have now learned how to reprogram this physical. I know that me is in you. We're infinite consciousness awareness. I am infinite consciousness awareness living the experience as Roderick Martin, this YouTuber. We all are. And there was a time, and it has been working, that I decided to change the program and the reality of how you see me. I no longer wanted people to see me as this YouTuber at the size that I was 6 months ago, and I have changed that, and I'm going to continue to change that. But also, because we're in this infinite time of the way we see time, and since time's supposed to be illusion, then what's going to happen is there's going to be people who stopped watching this show 6 months ago. And if they come back today, the first thing they're going to say, wow, you look different. You really are slimming down, because I have changed the programming of how they see me. Is that the same truth? As we begin to say, you want to live different, do different, whatever. Is that the programming Daryl was just talking about, right? But I will believe to say that I'm infinite consciousness and awareness. I will tell you that I'm living this experience as this. And all of you are living the experience that you're living, and you can change the perception of what I see by changing your programming to what you do in this construct. And when you change that, I'm going to see it differently. That's how we need to change in front of people. Just forget what they're talking about. Just change your programming, man. Go in there and change the programming. Visualize you pulling out your VCR tape and put in a new one. But yet we're fixated on tick, 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 tick time. So we don't really see. But they do tell us in the real world that if a ship changed its course just 1 degree, you may not see the subtle change, but over time, that booger is way off course, right? So I would say the theories or hypotheses are the same, and that we could literally think about that in the capacity of our own lives, right? I think it's something that we should do or think about. Y'all with me? Let me know if you're with me on that. That we're infinite consciousness and awareness living the experience that we're living. Let me know if you're with me. Sean says, I've done this program that he's talking about, and I now have a construct that I'm building for this as a method. There we go. But let me know, am I resonating anywhere tonight? Because I was just saying, why would the aliens species scramble or fake the signal? Because if ETs are giving substitute vision, is it to protect their secrecy? So in other words, what does it mean that remote viewers sometimes feel watched back? So I'm saying to you, thank y'all for those who are saying y'all with me. Appreciate it. That let me know I'm not here by myself and we got some interaction going. So there's a point that some of these remote viewers have been saying that they feel like they're being watched back. All right. Okay. Let's go here. I know I'm not the only one. How many of you feel that you've been watched? You remember the movie Deja Vu? I'm a movie buff. You remember the movie Deja Vu? Denzel Washington prayed in, and they could see with this machine into time, whatever. And you remember the movie. But there was a scene that Paula Patton looked out on the porch, and they was watching her, and she thought she was hearing the cat, but then she started looking around, talking about hello, and Denzel said, "Can she see us?" And they were like, "No," but she felt them though. She felt them watching her from a whole nother dimension in the movie. They were watching her from a whole nother dimension, and she felt it. And that's when he came up with the illusion of sending or the theory of putting that laser light into the future, the past, or whatever. But y'all remember that, right? So they're saying if the psychic connection is two-way, could looking at them alert them to our presence? And is there such a thing as interdimensional surveillance? Are we being watched interdimensionally? You know, we see the movies where where the Greek gods or Zeus and all the rest of them are in the cloud. They're looking down at the humans and, oh, look at that. They're down there warring, the angels or whatever. They're watching us. And we've heard the bloodline stories of the watchers, from the Anunnaki to the Nephilims to the angels, the watchers. Are we being watched? But supposedly the watchers are walking on earth with us, right? Or our minds biologically unprepared to understand alien intelligence? Even if we see alien symbols or tech, does our human mind distort it through imagination and bias? And is that a flaw or a form of program limitations? Y'all get the whole point of this concept tonight, for those of you who are watching, is there's something higher force at work here, people, plain and simple. I think we know it. We know this. There could be somebody laughing every day when I eat an apple or when I eat a Big Mac, which I don't, and somebody's laughing and somebody else is rooting. There could be one side going, and somebody else going, no, 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 no. You just lost me my bet. I said you weren't going to bite the apple. We don't know. Or we some comic relief of somebody else watching us every day. Now, could there be some truth to that? Because we all heard of Santa Claus. We all heard that as a kid that somebody was watching us to be naughty or nice, and he was checking his list. And if you did not act right as a kid, he was going to check the list and you was not going to get a toy under the tree for Christmas. We believed it as kids with our imaginations that it was a guy with a beard watching us. We believe that Jesus or God, whatever, watches us every day. So before you go in there and pick up my nickels that I dropped on the ground, instead of picking them up, handing them to me, you're going to stick them in your pocket, or you're going to say God is watching you and you need to give Roderick back his dime. 2 nickels is a dime. Is that something that we will discuss and think about? Or we already trained that we're being watched, but not really know who's watching us and how to watch us, or how to watch them back that's watching us and looking at them and looking at us back. We already know there's a problem right now in prison, and somebody stare at you, you stare at them, and it can fight and get you shanked or whatever. It's the same thing in cosmic law, that we're not supposed to watch them who's watching us. But I will tell you, I want to watch them who's watching me, period. I want to watch them. They're watching me, I want to watch them. The herbal, listen, I need you to, we put our list together for the Dallas meetup that we're getting ready to do, the herbal, or whatever. And I lost your phone number to put you on that list. So if you can text 888-345-9121, put your name and then a number. We're about ready. I was at a park Saturday that I think is going to be good for us. So Friday we'll make the announcement of where and when, and we're going to have our first meetup. We either do it at Joe Poo Lake or Keys Park, one of the two. But I think Keys Park could do is real easy to everybody park to. When we get there early, we can get one of the pavilions right there, and kids, a playground right there. The kids can hang out, and we can turn around and do some conspiracy. But let me know if you do that. But anyway, if you hear the message, 888-345-9121, text me. I lost the number, that you had, but I know you here local. So, and if any of you listen, if you're in Dallas, Fort Worth, you're watching on Forbidden Knowledge, this replay, but we're going to go ahead and have our first meet and greet within the next 2 weeks or 5 to 10 days or whatever. We're just going to hang out. We'll do a couple of them. So if you missed the first one, come out to the second one. We may do a little potluck, maybe not. We'll discuss that in the next several days or so. But in the meantime, we're going to get out, greet everybody, sit down, meet. Eventually, I'll have some surprise people come up and visit and talk to us. But we're going to just sit around and chat all day, have a good time. Any conspiracy, anything y'all want to discuss that we don't need to talk about on the air, we'll go as crazy, as deep as whatever you want to go, and whatever you want to talk about, we're going to talk about it. And we're going to have a good time. Okay? All right. So let me keep going. But I do want to watch whoever's watching me, right? You do too. Could these barriers be protecting us from knowledge that we're not ready to handle? That's that part that I think that really go for, because if we go that deep, we got to ask ourselves, or most of us, we got to think that
you can't handle the truth.
That may be the problem. We can't handle the truth. Right? And once again,
you want the truth, you can't handle the truth.
Maybe we can't handle the truth. But do you really want it? Because I'm saying this because every last one of you listening to my voice, if you really want the truth, we can study and get it in the other dimensions. We ain't got to go read no books. We ain't got to do that. We just got to get the method, the scientific method of remote viewing, not the remote viewing from the people that are training us that got it intuitively, or maybe they know how to do it. They're clairvoyant, whatever they are, because they have now homed in on their personal gifts. We're talking about those of us who really want to know, get information out there that's scientific remote viewing, and we can learn the scientific method, and you begin to access this information, but trust yourself. And do you want to do that? Because you don't have to sit here any more longer. I don't think it have to turn around and say, I want the truth. When we may want literal gossip truth, we may want truth we can hear on the news or what they're doing in politics behind our backs or whatever. When we can go where they're going, and then we get the why. Because that's where the growth is the why. There's nothing more detrimental to the truth keepers, the big secret keepers, than us knowing the why. Because us knowing the method of what they're doing ain't enough. We think that's enough now. We think because they're telling us this, disclosing or whatever, that ain't nothing. When there's nothing more powerful than the why. And if we go and start learning remote viewing ourselves, then we can find the why. Why this is happening over here? Why this is doing it? Why am I this way? Why is my life like this? Why? We can get the answers by going deeper.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, what?
We can get the answers by going deeper, people. I'm just telling you. I'm just saying we can get the answers. All right, so I'm going to go into predictions that the remote viewers were getting from Farsight Institute. Remember, that's something we discussed in the beginning. And then we're going to talk about some of their predictions that they had on Mars. And then we're going to discuss their prediction about the grays. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about if we want to continue to go. Then we're going to talk about how they discovered some other stuff about aliens through remote viewing. And then we're going to talk about the Galactic Federation. Then we're going to talk about the Palladian star system. And then we're going to talk about what I think is remote and Jesus, remote viewing Jesus. I hope you can hang around for all of this, because we're going to be going a little more longer tonight, because I miss you guys. But we're talking remote viewing Jesus. I can skip all the other stuff and go right to that. Now, hell, that'll probably be a show. Yeah, you get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? See, Daryl said I had a friend that being remote viewed. He asked me to help, so I tapped in and saw the person remote viewing him. And after a few seconds, the remote viewer detected and looked at me, and somehow he blocked me. There you go. So, what if we get to that same skill level, and you're sitting here like the movie Electra, and somebody comes into your consciousness, and you be like, "What the heck? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want?" Now, that'd be crazy. And I'm always tie things into relationships. If somebody you got a relationship with have an affair in the conscious, are they really cheating? Or are you cheating when you're dreaming about somebody else? You know what I mean? Are you really cheating? All right, so we're going to go into some of the predictions that was made in the Farsight Institution. Now, the Farsight Institute was founded by Dr. Courtney Brown. He used scientific remote viewing, SRV, to explore humanity's future timeline. See, that's what I was talking about. This guy said that they was doing it to get the future timeline. Remember, there was a device that they talked about in the extraterrestrial ufology world. Linda Moulton Howe talked about a lot of them that they had found that they can see the future. They already knew what we were doing. And it makes me wonder, and I'm taking another detour. When you think about the administration, Trump and the rest of them lining themselves with millions and millions of dollars and all this stuff, do they think, okay, why at 80 years old do you want another $1 billion? Unless you know how to come back in the future within your own timeline and control your money that you put up 100 years ago. I'm just thinking, is that possible? But yes, the yellow book. Yeah, that's what they was talking about. All right, so again, Dr. Courtney Brown used scientific remote viewing to explore humanity's future timeline. Now, the perfect gradual collapse of civilizations was something that they predicted at the time. So they predicted there was a gradual collapse of civilization due to overpopulation. That's scary. Resource scarcity. That's scary. And environmental breakdown. And over the next 250 years, Earth will face global famine, political collapse, mass migration into the underground bunkers, creating a kind of real Mad Max. All right, so I'm telling you that they're saying they've seen this. Now, I need to get the year that Dr. Courtney Brown talks about the future of that. But what we do know is this. They have always been talking about shrinking us around. They've always talked about, food shortages. And we already been talking about political breakdowns. But what we do know, and I've said it on this show many, many times over, that they've been talking about these rich people, everybody buying bunkers. Y'all remember that, right? I alluded to that about a year ago. And 6 months ago, Beyonce and Jay-Z bought a bunker. Rich Walsh said he just built his bunker. Mark Cuban, Zuckerberg building his bunker, the whole bunch of his family members, and everybody's building bunkers. So they're saying at the Farsight Institution that they saw in the future the next 250 years. Now, once again, why would Mark Cuban or Mark Zuckerberg build a bunker today and he's 40 years old? And if it's going to happen 250 years ago, what difference does it make? Unless you think of generational, unless you think about being reinserted back into this timeline or consciousness or our souls being reincarnated some kind of way. But what if you can direct the reincarnation of your soul? I'm just throwing this stuff out there to get us thinking tonight, because they got a plan, but we need to get into the other realm and find out what it is. Y'all with me? You get what I'm saying? Because they're doing these things right now. They're building these bunkers. All of them are. They're building them. Somebody's giving them information that some calamity or catastrophe or cataclysmic event is going to happen. They're preparing. They're preppers. Jen says, anyone else feel like we've been jumping timeless like crazy to the past few years? You know what? There was a time that my life was going really fast. And I've always felt that it's because I wasn't where I wanted to be in life. And when I do get there, it's going to slow down. And this is the true feeling, Jen, that I realize that I'm now where I need to be, life-wise, mind-wise. I'm getting things in perspective because it's moving so slow now. The days are creeping by. I'm enjoying all of the moments. But there was a time that it went, and I've always said to myself that it was just my way of getting me through these times that was difficult really fast to get into the now, to slow it down, to enjoy, to prepare to do what I'm doing. But listen, I know I got off track, but the FAR Institutes, they didn't just stop there, people. They said by 300 to 400 years into the future, Earth begins to heal. How many times we've heard something like that? Humanity becomes more spiritual involved and cautious and conscious. And a Garden of Eden society begins to emerge from the ashes of our self-destruction. She said, I'm not talking about fast, too difficult, but like having visions in my mind of other timeless and realizing that we're not on that one anymore, on that timeline. All right. Well, I think all right. I know your mind is a little more complex and putting together, but in a simplicity term, I was saying the same thing. The timelines are different, maybe. All right. But listen, they said that by 300 to 400 years from now in the future, Earth begins to heal from all of this destruction. And humanity becomes more spiritual evolved. Is that the Aquarian age that they're talking about already? There we go. Yeah, life pushing me toward my purpose. There you go. Is that the Aquarian age that we're in, or entering the water bearing? You know, Jesus said, go look for in my house the man that's carrying the water pitcher, right? But you get what I'm saying. They're all been saying this. These teachings have been out there. We're just hearing it in different facets. A Garden of Eden society begins to emerge. But the powerful word is from the ashes of our self-destruction. Farsight's viewers went even further than that. Should I continue? Should I continue? It tell you how further they're going. Do you want to know? Have I went too far already? By saying that in 250 years, we will face famine, political collapse, migration into underground bunkers. We won't live on the surface. Should I continue? Anybody listening? Should I continue that 300 to 400 years? I already said that we begin to heal, but they even go further in their predictions through remote viewing. All right, I'll wait. I'll skip it unless y'all want me to. Maybe I said too much already. Nah. But you know what I'm saying? I can continue. But if I had to answer my own question, have I said too much? I would probably say
Hell no.
that I could go further. I could go further. All right. Listen, they're also saying that thousands of years into the future, through remote viewing, which we should learn and we could see for ourselves, and that would be awesome to see yourself 1,000 years from now too, right? So then at least you will know the truth that they're supposed to be hiding from us, that we are reincarnated souls, or we're going to be coming back and forth here, whatever, because we can see ourselves in that 1,000-year future. Boy, ain't that powerful now. Then will we not worry about what we're going through every day? Because we're like, yeah, just again, I'm infinite conscious and awareness, living this experience as Roderick Martin, this YouTuber. You can say that this is what you are. And when you come back, you want to live another experience, right? Could that be? It's worth noting. However, let me continue. They said that thousands of years into the future, listen closely, seeing Earth reborn with human living in alignment with the planet and no longer as destroyers, but as caretakers. We will now live the life as caretakers. And not that we're not doing that now, but as destroyers. And it's kind of funny because I was watching a video on YouTube today, and they was talking about how they was making houses out of bamboo. And they said that one acre of land out of bamboo makes 1,000 square foot home, but 20 or 30 acres of trees creates 1,000 square foot home. We must got a lot of darn trees out there for all the houses built everywhere. You know, for an acre or whatever. I don't know. That's pretty. I'm always trying to tie things into the real world, right? In short, they said chaos is coming, but it is a spiritual change that's going to happen too. And the question is, who survives it to build? Who has built? Who survives it to build it? And what choices will shape the future? That is something that we will think about, because is the collapse already happening is the question, and were they just pretending it's normal? Farsight says food shortages, weather chaos, we experiencing that. System breakdowns are only in the beginning, and we're seeing that in the FAA. And we are in denial about signs of collapse already around us. They're saying that right now. Do y'all feel that way? Do you feel that there are systems collapsing right now, or they're in the food shortages right now? Weather chaos. We already know they can do that with HARP. They can make some stuff happening, but is weather changing? They've seen this in the future through remote viewing. I think we need to go check it out too. Why are underground bunkers always part of the elite and alien survival plan? See, when I was talking about that a while back, I was getting these texts, "Nah, man, who cares?" You know, blah, blah, blah. And I told y'all I'm building me a bunker. I told you. And I said, only a few people can come in my bunker, but I'm building a bunker. And maybe it ain't for me. Maybe it's for the kids and the kids after, but I'm building a bunker. Plain and simple. Better have it, not need it not have it. Plain and simple. If you can build your bunker, build your bunker. Yeah. If you can build your bunker, build your bunker. That's all I'm saying. You get what I'm saying? I'm telling you, it's on the plan list. I already know the property. I already know where. I already talked out some of the companies. And that'll be the challenge, though. How do you erase that? Get a company to build your bunker, and then all of a sudden when stuff happening, they know where everybody's bunker is, and then they start sending their friends and relatives, go to this house, because we built the bunker. Do somebody go wipe their memory? Because I want you to forget where you built my bunker. Everybody who built my bunker is in trouble, maybe. I'm just saying. I don't want nobody to know I got a bunker after they built it. What happens? So why are underground bunkers are also part of the elite and alien plan and survival plan? Are they preparing to hide while we are left above ground to fight? I saw a video that they were saying that the military were building underground bunkers they're already saying that they're building underground bunkers for the elite. Right? They're already saying it. They're doing it now. Are they preparing to hide while we left underground to fight? And why do both military remote viewers and alien insiders focus so heavily on what's beneath the earth? They're talking about underground cities. They're building all kinds of stuff. They're doing so much stuff to go underground. It's like, I don't know. Don't this make you more excited to learn this stuff so that you can go into that realm and see the truth? Or I know some people might be sitting here going,
"That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard."
Maybe that's what some people are saying. Yeah. Maybe that's what some people are saying. You know? And I'll say it again. Maybe some people listen to me and just going,
"That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard."
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Because we're watching it. Now, what transforms us from destroyers to caretakers over the next 400 years? Is it suffering that will wake us up, or outside intervention, ET contact? Would they accelerate our evolution? And what role do the Martians, the Greys, or even reptilians play in that transformation? See, people say that they are here to help humanity. They're here to help us. They're here to give us whatever. But their ass is living underground. Some of these reptilians, they live underground. Now, the Bible says that the fallen angels were not thrown onto earth. They were put into earth. So they're dwelling in the earth. Y'all remember that, right? Yeah, of course you do. All right, so is it suffering? Like I said, that'll wake us up. I don't know. But if remote viewers can see 400 years ahead, who's controlling the timeline? Jen was just talking about that just now. She was saying about the timeline. So that's why I was saying we're on the same page. Dr. Strange says they're cool, but you probably don't need one. Listen, better have it, not need it, not have it. That's all I'm saying. If I can afford to buy it and build it and create it, I'm going to do it. And I just walk around saying, hey, as one of my dating lines, hey, baby, I'm the man for you because I got a bunker. Do your man got a bunker? Well, my man got a Mercedes, but do he got a bunker though, baby? Well, my man got $100,000 a year job. Baby, I got a bunker. Do you hear me? I got a bunker. Maybe she doesn't care. She doesn't care. Yeah. I'm just saying. She says the material world is where it is, and I got a bunker. She don't want to be underground. She want to be seen. I want to be seen. Well, I want to go underground. Are we seeing the future as it is, will be, or as it become programmed to be? They always say that we're all there is, has been, and ever can be, is what I say. I'm all there is, has been, and ever can be. Is there any truth in that? Yeah. Is there any truth in that? Could elite consciousness or alien influence be shaping humanity's destiny without our awareness? Beyonce bought a bunker. What did that mean? I don't know. Like I said, some of these other people building bunkers. They're all, just start Googling it right now. All of them building bunkers. They're building them. What do they know we don't know? All right, so we're going to talk about Farsight predictions about Mars. Now, they also, the Farsight Institution, you know what? We can do a part 2 of this because we already been here 2 hours. And I'm saying we have prediction about Mars. I can do a part 2 Wednesday. Farsight about the Greys. Yeah, we can do that. We can talk about how the remote viewers discovered the aliens and the Galactic Federation. And we can talk about the Pleiades star system. And then we can talk about remote viewing Jesus. I think that's going to be a great point. And then remote viewing who are the reptilians. Because we could be going on forever tonight. And we can talk about how they tapped into Dulce base. You know what I'm saying? Because we'll be still going on for 2 more hours. And that way we continue it Wednesday at 8 o'clock. And then don't forget Thursday. Let me put this on here. Y'all remember me and her talk, Yaya, but she's going to be in a private area. So if you have not gotten your membership to the Patreon, we're going to be living that to its truth. I will admit I got to put more into it to increase your value that you're getting from it. But we're going to do it. And this the access there. If you haven't found it, you can get your access to it. Make sure you get the all access membership, and make sure you do that. Our contact number 345-99121. Make sure you can screenshot that, report call links or whatever. The Unspeakable Truth book is on pre-release. There's a link in the description, I think. You can definitely check that out. Even Shadows of Deception, you need to check that one out. And then, of course, the instant download there. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, having said that, we're going to get out of here tonight, and since we've been here for 2 hours, so we'll be back Wednesday. I'm gonna finish this Wednesday. I'll do a quick recap of some of this stuff, and and so make sure all of you come back Wednesday, 8:00. We'll finish this Wednesday, and even go a little deeper because this is really long and some good stuff. But I really think, and then what I will do is try to figure out a way to share more information so that you can get more information on remote viewing yourself. But in the meantime, in between time, go ahead and check that out. The stuff that Daryl sent, I'll get it on the screen for Wednesday. And that way we can have all that up and touch bases on a lot of those things. And yeah, we can do that. And the Herbal, once again, make sure you text me the number, put you on the text, because we're going to be putting out information. If you're still interested, you may not be, and I'm just talking. But yeah, if you do, then okay. Today Wednesday? Oh, that was a long time ago. Oh, there's somebody else add to the number. All right. But anyway, as always, I love you. It's been a plum, pleasing pleasure, as well as a privilege being here tonight with you. Make sure, once again, hit the like button, post your comments about the videos and everything else. We can do it. Like I said, we will be back here Tuesday and everything else. And again, I love each and every one of you. Again, your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. We're going to continue. Oh, by the way, Saturday, I hit the streets, got some street reactions because I'm doing a video that I'm going to upload about the transformation of Beyonce because, man, I'm telling you, there's some stuff. And I interviewed people on the street, and boy, you got to hear what they had to say. I got a few of them on my interview. I would have played some of them. I may play some of those reactions Wednesday, but I'm not. I'm making a video to upload with that whole story and me being on the streets and doing it. So we did that Saturday. I was out interviewing some people. It was great. And I'm doing more of that. So, all right. All right. Love y'all. Good night to you. Y'all have a good one tonight. All right.
Welcome, Truth Seeker. You are no longer asleep. I am Luminous, the Owl of Truth. The world is blind, but you have opened your eyes. Welcome to the fire of esoteric knowledge and truth. You are now one of the awakened. You are now luminous. Welcome to the rebellion. Welcome to truth versus authority.